Bucs fans, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers somehow survived week number 1 against the Atlanta Falcons on the road. I'm going to give you guys my instant game reaction, also my winners and losers from week number 1. Also, this week we got 2 big contract extensions, one to Luke Goedeke and also one to Zyon McCollum, the cornerback for this team. I'm going to give you guys my take on both of those deals. I think we got, spoiler alert, I think we got 2 really good deals with those contracts. Also, it's early, but I'm going to give you guys my week 2 predictions for all the NFL games in week number 2. All that and more on this episode of Fear the Bay. Bucs fans, we have a special Sunday edition of Fear the Bay. I'm your host, Daniel Morales, and somehow, in some way, the Buccaneers found a way to survive that week 1 game against the Atlanta Falcons. Came down to a kick, a field goal attempt by Young Koo, the kicker for the Atlanta Falcons. He made the 40-yard kick earlier in the game. He made the 27-yard kick earlier in the game as well, but he missed the 44-yard kick field goal attempt. And the Buccaneers, they had a few seconds left after that, took the knee, and they escaped, winning 23-20 on the road against the NFC South, their biggest rivals this year, the Atlanta Falcons. So that was really good to see. I got to do my first ever commentary for the game with Pewter Report, so I'm really excited to continue to do that. I was the co-host for the Pewter Game Day show, so every single game when the Buccaneers are playing, you can put us on Pewter Report. You just turn down the volume for the TV so you can hear us, me and Matt Matera, give our analysis and insight to what is going on out there on the field. Had a great time doing that, looking to continue to improve my craft each and every week. It's all about getting better every time you can possibly get a chance to do so. So again, big thank you guys to Pewter Report. I look forward to joining the team. They have a lot of great guys like Josh Capo, for example, Adam Flavon, great guy as well. Looking to continue to grow Fear the Bay and excited to join the Pewter Report team. So that's really cool to see. All right, so we have our winners and losers. Let's start positive. Okay, let's start with our winners of the night. So the first winner, or the day, because it was a 1 o'clock kickoff game. It felt like forever, but it was a 1 o'clock kickoff game. The first winner for me is Jamel Dean. So he didn't have a crazy game by any means, but he didn't lose you the game. Also, he played, for the most part, tight coverage. He played good coverage throughout the entire game. He did have the 1 face mask penalty that just completely erased the would-be Yaya Diaby sack on Michael Penix Jr. But again, throughout the entire game, he was playing tight coverage, good coverage against the wide receivers of the Atlanta Falcons. They had no Darnell Mooney. I thought he was going to go into the game active because he was feeling better. He said he was dealing with before a bit of soreness and stiffness in his right shoulder. It was the same injury, the same shoulder that affected him all the way last year in week number 18. So he had to be held out in that week number 18 game. Same shoulder he's dealing with. So he didn't return this game, but the Buccaneers, they faced Drake London, Ray McLeod, Casey Washington, and all those wide receivers for the Atlanta Falcons. But Jamel Dean played tight coverage. He's a guy who, from the very first episode of Fear the Bay, if you go all the way back to Fear the Bay episode number 1, if you watch the debut episode, it was focused on, a part of it was focused on Jamel Dean. Is he going to lose his job? The Buccaneers, they had just drafted Benjamin Morris in the 2nd round, Jacob Parrish in the 3rd round. He was a guy who wasn't living up to that $13 million a year salary that he's making, and he still is making. I still don't think he's worth $13 million, but again, he didn't lose you the game. He played tight coverage. He played good for himself. And Michael Penix Jr. is a left-handed quarterback. So for the most part, when he drops back, depending on the read and coverage, he's scanning the field from left to right, oftentimes looking Jamel Dean's direction. So it's really good for Jamel Dean to not lose big like he did, for example, in week number 2 of the the preseason against the Pittsburgh Steelers, where he got beat deep. It was like a 42-yard reception. Then he had on the same drive the DPI or holding penalty, and then to cap off the drive in week number 2 of the preseason against the Pittsburgh Steelers, his eyes wandered, like Todd Bowles said, and he just gave up the touchdown. So he had no big issues like that in this game. He looked pretty good for himself, was able to play tight coverage again, and he didn't lose the Buccaneers the game. All right, second winner of the day is first round rookie Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State. So Emeka Egbuka had a very good game for himself. I know when Emeka Egbuka got drafted, a lot of Buccaneers fans were kind of upset or were scratching their head. But you look at this pick now and you see he's the perfect Buccaneers player and the perfect pick for the current state of this team when you have injuries to guys like Chris Godwin Jr., who dislocated his ankle all the way back in week number 7 of last year against the Baltimore Ravens. And injuries to guys like Jalen McMillan, who has the severe neck injury that he suffered off of that hospital ball from Teddy Bridgewater in the second preseason game as well. So Emeka Egbuka, he had 8 targets, 4 receptions, 67 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Really, really, really impressive, coming down with 2 touchdowns for the rookie. I think he is a candidate possibly for Rookie of the Year. We'll see how his growth continues. But he comes out right out of the gate with 2 touchdowns, 4 receptions, 67 yards. Really good game for himself. He's a guy who right away, early after the Buccaneers drafted him, early in the offseason during training camp, he already knew in OTAs, he already knew the bulk of this offense. You can plug him and play him. You can put him on any of the wide receiver positions and you feel confident. He's primarily playing in the slot position where Chris Godwin was playing for the past few years. And Chris Godwin has, luckily for him and for this team, been his mentor, been there at his side. Any question he has, whether it's about personal life or about football, Chris Godwin has been that right-hand man to him, giving him all the knowledge, all the wealth of knowledge and experience that he has, and just pouring it all into the rookie. So I want to see Emeka Egbuka continue to improve each and every week. There's going to be times when opposing defenses, because of injuries at wide receiver, decide to double team Mike Evans, try to eliminate him from the game. Sometimes they're going to succeed at doing that. So Emeka Egbuka is going to get the bulk of the targets whenever that does happen. And he has to be able to step up, come down with those targets, and be able to be productive for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I don't expect him to do otherwise. Let's go to our next winner of the day. And it's kind of like a group of winners. It's that makeshift offensive line that the Buccaneers put out there in week number 1. So right before the game started, we got breaking news that the Buccaneers were not going to have. We know the injury at left tackle of Tristan Wirfs. He's out with the bone injury in his knee, off crutches, should be back soon. Week number 3 is a maybe. I know he's close. But we got news that Charlie Heck, his backup, was not going to be starting at left tackle. And he's been getting all the reps basically since OTAs, training camp, preseason. He's been getting all the reps with the other 4 offensive linemen on this squad, on this team. But what they did was they put left tackle, center, moved him over, but now for the next few weeks, maybe left tackle Graham Barton over there. They moved him from center to left tackle. First round pick out of Duke last year. He has played tackle before in college, so it wasn't a brand new experience for him. He's done this before, but he's out there playing left tackle for the Buccaneers. At left guard, they had the practice squad elevation of Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is out there, not the basketball player, the football player, but Michael Jordan was out there playing left guard for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this game. And then the center, it was Ben Bredesen. So we've seen in training camp, and the right side stayed the same, Cody and Luke. But we've seen during training camp, really limited view of this, an emergency situation where they would have Graham Barton out at left tackle, Ben Bredesen moving into center, just to see maybe because if they suffered an injury to Charlie Heck, or if he just had a really bad performance and you need to save the day by shifting around this offensive line. They've tried this before. And for the last 2 weeks, they basically kept this pretty hush-hush away from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers media. The media is only able to watch for the first 30 minutes or so of the practice. So, and then they have to go inside of the media room. So they did a really good job, the Buccaneers did, of keeping this hush-hush, making sure that nobody in the NFL, not even the media, that covers the team each and every day, knew about this offensive line, whole makeshift offensive line, the whole shift there. So, wide receiver Cam Johnson, another winner of the day. He had a long 54-yard punt return that completely changed the momentum early on for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, it continued to be a grueling grind of a game, but he had a big 54-yard return, really completely flipped the field for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, changed the momentum of the team. The Buccaneers were able to capitalize on that big punt return with a touchdown. So it was really good to see Cam Johnson out there on special teams. He's a guy who I didn't know if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were going to keep on the roster with the final 53-man cut. Because of the fact that he had those drops in the final game of the preseason and was hurt a bit before that. I thought a guy like Garrett Green maybe had the edge over him. But they put Cam Johnson out there because of his special teams ability. And I think until the The Buccaneers are back healthy at wide receiver. I don't think you're going to see much of Tez Johnson unless something happens to Cam Johnson. I don't think you're going to see much of Tez Johnson out there as the starting punt returner for this team. But Cam Johnson is doing pretty good for himself, and he might continue to be the starting punt returner for the rest of the season if he continues to progress like this. All right, so my last winner of the day is safety Antoine Winfield Jr. So while doing the commentary, I was looking a lot, really often at the Peter Peoples comments throughout the entire game, and a lot of people were complaining about Antoine Winfield Jr. You know, why you pay him all this money, all these things, you know, when he's not going to go out there and produce for you. It's just week number 1. Whether the Buccaneers win or lose, I always like to tell people, don't overreact. Okay, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Antoine Winfield Jr. was invisible for most of the game, but he saved the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the final few seconds. So there's about 16 seconds left. The Buccaneers are up 23-20 against the Atlanta Falcons, and Michael Penix Jr. makes this amazing pass, beautiful touch pass to Casey Washington, number 82, wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons. And luckily, because it would have been a touchdown, luckily, Antoine Winfield Jr. just comes running across the field, boom, hits him outside the sideline, stands there, you know, he feels himself after that, felt good after that play. But he saved the day for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he's always, I call him Mr. Hustle, Mr. Effort. He looks like, when I got to see him in training camp early on, he looks like his all-pro self. This is week number 1 for all these guys, Gav Russ and all these guys, even the Atlanta Falcons. They didn't start their starters throughout the entire preseason. For the Buccaneers, they only put them out there for a few drives in week number 2, besides Savasi Dennis playing in the first game against the Tennessee Titans. But there's going to be a lot of bad football they're going to see throughout the first few weeks, throughout the entire National Football League, because there's a lot of rust on these players, given the fact that they don't play as much in preseason anymore. So those are the winners of the day for me. Let's get to now a little bit more negative, but let's get to our losers of the day. Bucs fans, want to know how you can help this channel, Fear the Bay, grow and expand? All you have to do is 3 simple things: like, subscribe, and comment. They're quick. They're simple things to do. They're free. And what it does is it helps boost out this content to more Buccaneers fans like yourself. So when YouTube sees you liking, subscribing, and engaging with the content, they boost this content out to more viewers like yourself. So please, if you can, like, subscribe, and comment. That helps me out a lot. And let's get back to the video. We don't want to miss that. Let's get now to our losers of week number 1 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and not the fact that they're losers, not putting them down, just guys who didn't play to the level that you expect them to play at. So let's start off with the captain of this team, none other than Baker Mayfield, the quarterback, the franchise quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He came out looking rusty, looking sloppy, had a few overthrows, missed a few guys, had a bit of communication. We'll talk about that miscommunication with some of his receivers, even an open receiver deep down the field. But let's look at his stat line. It was not the best game from Baker Mayfield overall. Probably his worst debut for the Buccaneers to start off week number 1 for a season, but with the Buccaneers. But he went 17 for 32 in the passing game. He had 167 yards. He had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, did have the sack, but there was nothing he could do because he had tight coverage, nowhere to throw it to. The offensive line couldn't hold up for that play, and he got the sack. He lost 8 yards for that play, but nothing Baker Mayfield could do. But he did lead the team in rushing yards. You never want to see that, really. He had 5 carries for 39 yards, 7.8 yards per carry on average. So, besides the 3 touchdowns, not a great game for Baker Mayfield overall. You want to see him come out next week more in rhythm. Hopefully, Josh Grisard can find a way to get him some quick passes quickly, just easy completions, some screens, some quick things, just quick passes to get him in the groove, to not have this ramp-up period that takes almost the entire game to get him really in the groove, to get Baker Mayfield fully, in the game, locked in mentally, and having his passes on target. He had a few passes where they're behind the receivers. He had 2, 3, maybe even 4 passes that should have been picked off, and luckily they weren't. There was one pick that was almost picked off for a pick 6. His target was Kate Otten, tight end, almost picked off by Ellis, the inside linebacker for the Atlanta Falcons, formerly of the New Orleans Saints, but been with the Falcons for a couple years now. But ultimately, it's not the type of performance that you would expect from Baker Mayfield, who, again, last year, he's top 5 in all the major categories for quarterbacks. Top 5, and for example, or top 2 in some cases, for things like passing yards, touchdowns, first and third down win rate. Remember the play where he had Nick Bosa, he was holding him off, and he was able to connect with Rachaad White. But it's not the game that you would expect from Baker Mayfield. No turnovers, that is a positive. 3 touchdowns, that is positive too. But just a really sloppy game from Baker Mayfield. You'd expect better. But again, these guys are all rusty, and you're going to see probably a few weeks before you get really, really, really good football across the NFL, where they're not making these kind of mistakes and they don't look like the season is just beginning. So Baker Mayfield, our first loser of the game. All right, next. Normally, his name is Chase Monday McLaughlin, right? Chase Bank. But he missed a kick. He missed a 44-yard kick, which would have put the Buccaneers in a position where it probably would have gone to overtime, or even have the possibility of it going to overtime, because the Atlanta Falcons would have needed to go down the field and score a touchdown. Same thing also, the fact that he missed a field goal attempt. Extra point attempt. So in total, he dropped the Buccaneers. He erased 4 points off of the board. And, he did have a defender run into his leg. I don't know if that affected him, so I don't know if he's, injured. We'll see throughout the week exactly if there's something that's bothering him, because the defender did run into his leg. No call from the officials, no penalty there, which would have made it a first down and continued the drive. But he did miss the field goal. He missed the extra point attempt. You hope that this is not a trend from Chase McLaughlin, because he has been extremely accurate for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the past few years. And now coming out with these 2 misses that drop, again, 4 points off of this scoreboard for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That would have made the Atlanta Falcons go down the field and have to score a field goal and not have it come down to the final few seconds of the game, a Younghoe Koo 44-yard kick to possibly send the game into overtime. So Chase McLaughlin, normally accurate, normally fine. I just hope this is not a trend for Chase McLaughlin, because I think he's an incredible kicker for this team. I just hope he continues to improve, and just that this is this is just a 1 week thing. This is not anything that's going to carry over into next week. All right, so next. Zyon McCollum just got the big 3-year extension. He's getting paid now $16 million a year. We'll talk about the contract details later on, but he dropped 2 would-be interceptions, and this was big. So if you get that opportunity, if the ball hits your hand, you got to come down with that interception. I know Scott Reynolds of Pewter Report. I get to go work with him now. That's pretty cool. But he was texting Zyon McCollum after the game, after the signing, and he told him, the best way to celebrate this new signing is with a pick 6 on Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons, and you go celebrate that new contract. And he had 2 opportunities, maybe not to get a pick 6, but to get interceptions. The first one, both of them hit him right in the hands. Now the second one, it would have been, or second or first, but one of the interceptions would have been called back no matter what, even if he would have caught it, because Vita Vea had a roughing the passer penalty, which gave the Falcons an automatic first down, 15-yard gain. But again, if you get that opportunity, even if it's going to get called back, if the ball is around you, if the ball touches your hands, this has been the problem with Jamel Dean. Kevin Ross has said this, Todd Bowles. You have to come down with those interceptions. I think I will talk more about Zyon McCollum later on, but he's an above-average corner who has a lot of room to improvement. So I'll talk more about him later on, though. Lastly, the final loser of the game. And again, these guys aren't losers. It's just guys who didn't play up to a level that you expect them to play at. Because even if you win, there's always room for improvement no matter what. Even if Bucs won 70-0, some college football levels type score, there will always still be room for improvement. There's no such thing as perfection. You're always trying to improve and improve and improve. So inside linebacker Savasi Dennis, he had quite an up and down game. He did have the tip pass off of Michael Penix Jr., saved it. He hit the ball out with his right hand. 10 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. But he did miss a lot of tackles. That was a big thing. He was a little bit, you expect him to do a good job in the open field, expect him to do a good job in pass coverage. But he just up and down game for Savasi Dennis. There was a moment where they took him out of the game, put Deion Jones. I was thinking in my head, is this possibly a moment where they see him have this up and down game and they're just going with the veteran to close out the game? No, that wasn't true. They put Savasi Dennis back out there, but you just want to see more consistency out of this inside linebacker out of the University of Pitt. He's been in the NFL for a few years now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, hasn't been able to stay healthy, had a shoulder injury last year, but he is incredibly good overall, for the most part, historically, with the Buccaneers in pass coverage. And he kind of looked a little bit like KJ Britt out there, a little bit of a liability. But he was, again, up and down game, did have the 10 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, the tipped pass off of Michael Penix Jr.'s pass there. But again, Savasi Dennis, a guy who I want to see improve more, be more consistent. Again, this is week 1 for all these guys. There's a reason I believe now that the Buccaneers had him out there in week number 1 against the Tennessee Titans in the first preseason game. He was the only starter really out there, but just he has to get more reps. And this is, he had an up and down game for week number 1. This is not, unless you see this every single week in and week out, I don't think this is what you would come to expect from Savasi Dennis. I think he's going to improve. And I think he is going to be possibly the answer for the inside linebacker position after the Buccaneers lose Lavonte David, because this might be his last year. This might be his final year in Tampa, and the Buccaneers need this next guy to step up. And what better guy to have than Savasi Dennis, a guy who's been around Lavonte David for the last few years, and just hopefully he can take that next step forward and continue to improve for the Buccaneers. But up and down game, he got stiff-armed by Kyle Pitts. Couldn't take him down. A few missed tackles, but again, you just want to see more consistency out of Savasi Dennis. So again, losers of the game: Baker Mayfield, Chase McLaughlin, Zyon McCollum, and Savasi Dennis. Again, they're not losers overall. They're just guys who you would expect more out of. You would expect more production. You would expect a cleaner, better game out of these players than what they gave you. Let's get now to our 3 headlines. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers made 2 huge contract extensions this week. The first one was to Luke Goedeke, so that's the one we're going to talk about first. And they broke that news at the same exact time they were having their 50th year, their 50th season anniversary, where they're filming the big documentary that all Bucs fans are going to be able to see later on this year. But in that 50th year anniversary, just a little side note, they had all the Buccaneers greats, or most of the Buccaneers greats. You had guys like Tom Brady, of course, Brad Johnson, you had Jimmy Giles, you had Ali Marpet, you had a bunch of the Buccaneers greats, even Jason Light was out there as well, Rondé Barber as well. A lot of the Buccaneers greats out there celebrating the Buccaneers 50th season, and eventually all of us are going to be able to see that documentary, that 50th season documentary. So I'll keep an eye out for that, because that's going to be that's going to be a lot of good content there that the Buccaneers are going to be pushing out to celebrate, again, this 50th season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And they were able to start the 50th season with a win on the road against the Atlanta Falcons. But let's get here to this Luke Goedeke signing. So Luke, when he came in, he was, let's break down first. So Luke Goedeke, 4-year contract extension, $90 million, $55 million of that is guaranteed. So the way that the Buccaneers like to structure these contracts are that the first 2 years are fully guaranteed or mostly guaranteed. In this case, it's mostly guaranteed. So the Buccaneers, with any of these contracts, after first 2 years, if the player didn't work out, if the situation didn't work out, they didn't like what they saw, they have an injury, something happened, they can move on after that second year with very minimal dead cap, very minimal impact against their overall salary cap. So I don't think something's going to happen to Luke Goedeke, but you never know what can happen. So the Buccaneers found a way that after those 2 years, again, they can move on from Luke Goedeke if it doesn't work out. But I doubt that's going to happen. Again, he gets a 4-year, $90 million contract extension. $55 million of that is guaranteed. We'll talk about where he ranks in the overall, contract rankings, the yearly salary rankings in terms of all tackles and right tackles as well. Before that, let's go back all the way to the very beginning of Luke Goedeke here in Tampa Bay. So the Buccaneers drafted him in 2022 in the 2nd round. I believe it was a 56th pick overall. But the Buccaneers drafted him in the 2nd round, and he was a tackle at Central Michigan. So he played tackle in college, and when the Buccaneers drafted him, they decided to push him inside. They thought his better position was playing interior offensive lineman at offensive tackle. But to put him at left guard, and that turned out, that experiment, the Luke Goedeke at left guard experiment went horribly wrong. It didn't work out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He ended up being, eventually in the season, towards the end, bench for Nick Lever. He can't be bench for himself. Bench for Nick Lever. It just didn't work out. The next year, that's when they made the swap that right tackle Tristan Wirfs was going to move over to the left side of the offensive line, and they pushed out Luke Goedeke to the right tackle position. But let's look back. His PFF grade for that rookie season, that horrible, miserable rookie season for him, was a 43.7 overall grade. So really bad football there from him. But again, he's a guy who came in, played a different position in college, played tackle, now needing to push over to left guard. He feels more comfortable on the right side of the offensive line. He feels extremely comfortable, the most comfortable at right tackle. And another good thing when he made that switch was that he had Tristan Wirfs, who, like we talked about, made the swap. They pushed him over from right tackle to left tackle. And he was already one of the best in the league. He was an all-pro at right tackle already. And he was able to give Luke Goedeke, his best friend, one of his best friends on this team, a lot of mentorship, a lot of key insight on exactly how he should position his hands, his stance, all those things. So he had one of the best in the league, and he's still Tristan Wirfs. He's not on the field yet, but he's going to be back soon. He's one of the best tackles in the league, if not the best tackle in the league. But at the time, he's still an improving talent, and he still is now. But he had him in his ear, and he had him. Any question that he had, he could rely on Tristan Wirfs to give him that answer. So it was really good, probably for his progression, his development, to have Tristan Wirfs, a guy who just moved over from right side to left side, left tackle, helping you out along the way. So he had a 43.7 overall PFF grade in his rookie year. That bounced up dramatically to 72.5% overall grade in 2023. And then last year, he did even better. Slightly better than he did before. He got a 73.7 overall PFF grade. So every single year he's improved, but there is no bigger year than that year one to year number two, where he felt more comfortable playing right tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So you want to see Tristan Wirfs continue to develop. Luke Goedeke continue to develop and eventually make a Pro Bowl. Maybe the Buccaneers don't even need him to make a Pro Bowl because of the fact that they're going to be in the Super Bowl. We'll see what happens this year and how it all plays out. But Luke Goedeke, you want to see him continue to improve. He's had the issue with the concussions, but he's wearing that Guardian cap. I think overall this is a very good signing. When we look at the contract number breakdowns, and also Peter Report, our cap analyst, our cap guru, Josh Capo, he thought this was a really good deal also. So if you ever want to know, was this a good deal or not, go follow my guy, Josh Capo. He knows all there is to know about these contracts. He's a leader, one of the leaders of contract Twitter, hashtag contract Twitter. He's a great guy, amazing guy. I'm proud to be, his co-worker now. But this Luke Goedeke signing where he's making $22.5 million a year now. The highest paid right tackle is Penei Sewell for the Detroit Lions, and he makes $28 million a year. So that's a almost $6 million increase from what Luke Goedeke's making right now. And Luke Goedeke's not as good as Sewell is. He's a good tackle, but not as good as Sewell is. So it makes sense why he's making a little bit less than him. And then you have the second highest paid right tackle being Lane Johnson, who's with the Philadelphia Eagles, coming off that Super Bowl victory, coming off of also the Week 1 victory against the Dallas Cowboys. He's making $25 million per year. So on average, for year, Luke Goedeke, third highest paid right tackle, the 10th highest paid offensive tackle in the league, both left and tackle, if you just rank them together. Overall, good deal for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here. Again, he still has room for improvement. You want to see him continue to be consistent, continue to be the guy, Luke the Lifter is his nickname, continue to be the guy who sets the tone on the offensive line. But the Buccaneers love him. The players love him. The front office loves him. I know Baker Mayfield loves this guy. He's a gritty, tough guy. He's the type of guy who brings his lunch pail into work, just a blue-collar offensive worker kind of, the perfect offensive lineman kind of. But really good deal here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's move on to our second headline, the Zyon McCollum signing. So the second big signing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week before game number 1 was to cornerback Zyon McCollum. So there's a big question mark. His agent, Drew Rosenhaus, was at training camp for a time. And question was he going to be able to get this deal done before the season, or were the Buccaneers just going to have him play out the season and wait to see how he performs and pay him at the very end? I think with this deal, I think the Buccaneers did the smarter thing by signing him before the season began instead of waiting to see how he would perform. later on in the year. But the Buccaneers signed him to a 3-year contract extension. It's $48 million, with 35.4 of that being guaranteed. So again, after the first 2 years, you can move on from these players. That's the perfect Jason Light, Mike Greenberg, Jackie, the whole front office. That's the perfect contract structure. You play those first 2 years. If you don't do good, if we don't like what happened, we can move on with very minimal dead cap or effect on the salary cap in general. So Zyon McCollum coming off of a 82 tackle, 17 PBU, and 2 interception season. So in terms of how his play overall, balances out with the rest of the corners, I think Zyon McCollum is an above average corner. And I think he has a lot of room for improvement. Just saw in week number 1 against the Atlanta Falcons, he had 2 opportunities to come down with an interception. Now, again, one of them would have been called back, like we talked about earlier in the show, because nose tackle Vita Vea, who Chris Lindstrom, right guard for the Atlanta Falcons, calls one of the most powerful guys in the NFL. We know that to be true. But Vita Vea had a roughing the passer penalty against Michael Penix Jr., which caused an automatic first down, 15-yard gain for the Atlanta Falcons. But the interception for Zyon McCollum would have been called back. But anytime you get the opportunity that the ball hits your hand, you have to come down with it, especially if you're a cornerback. This has always been the problem with Jamel Dean, and you just hope it doesn't become the problem now that he's been paid with Zyon McCollum. But compared to where the rest of the corners in the league, what they're getting paid and where he ranks there, he comes in as the 21st, tied for the 21st highest paid cornerback in the entire league. So when you look at the top guys, you got guys like Sauce Gardner making $30.1 million per year. Derek Stingley, Derek Stingley Jr., who the Buccaneers are going to see now in week number 2. That is going to be the Monday Night Football game. They're going to face him in week number 2. He's making $30 million a year. Now, these are the top echelon of cornerbacks in this league. You got J.C. Horn, NFC South cornerback. Dave Canales in the Carolina Panthers making $25 million. You got another really good young corner, Patrick Surtain the second. He makes $24 million per league. So if you go all the way down to 21st, I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers got a steal here. Zyon McCollum tied with DJ Reed from the Detroit Lions, making $16 million per year. I think this is a very good steal of a contract. It's just $3 million more than what Jamel Dean is currently making, with the Buccaneers making about $13 million per year. It's $2 million less than what the New England Patriots are paying former gravedigger, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, Carlton Davis III, who again is often injured. They're paying him $18 million a year, probably a bit overpaid. But this is a very, very good deal, in my opinion. And Zyon McCollum is still a very young guy. By the time this contract extension ends, he'll be around 29 years old. He will have another opportunity to cash in and get a pay raise from that $16 million if he showed that his play, warrants it. So he's a guy who, so far, again, I believe he's an above average corner, but he has a lot of potential. He has a lot of upside. Can he be an all-pro cornerback? Can he be a Pro Bowl player? Well, he's going to need to do that. You're going to need to continue playing tight coverage. I think he is a good man corner, and he can play zone as well. But you got to come down with the interceptions. You got to get those picks, and that's how you make money. So as an edge rusher, you got to come down with the sacks, and that's how you get that big contract, a contract that a guy like Hassan Reddick, who had a sack against the Atlanta Falcons, a big contract that he's going to be looking for, and a contract that guys like TJ Watt, Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, those edge rushers, they know if they get to the quarterback, if they get high sack production, if they garner it, they're going to get an opportunity to really ball out and get the Brinks truck back into their garage with all the millions of dollars they're going to be making. And Zyon McCollum, again, he's a guy who he just needs to continue to improve his game to the next level, continue to play tight coverage, come down with those interceptions, really just eliminate one side of the field. If you remember, Darrelle Revis, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer also, it was Revis Island. You knew you didn't want to throw it to his side of the field. You knew he was going to lock down that side of the field. You want to see Zyon McCollum. He has that potential. During the pre-draft process and the draft process, the RAS score is always really, really, really big. And the Buccaneers really like his size, his athleticism, 6'2", 199. He had a perfect 10.0 RAS score, so he's an athletic freak. He's, again, just like Yaya Diaby. If you were to build a corner in a lab, he kind of is going to look like Zyon McCollum. He's extremely fast, extremely athletic. Early on in his career, he had an issue with tackling, and he was able to make up some of his issues with his speed, because he has good speed on him. But again, Zyon McCollum, $16 million a year. You just want to see him continue to improve. But overall, the Buccaneers, no matter what, got a steal of a contract with Zyon McCollum making $16 million a year. What happens with Jamel Dean next year? Do the Buccaneers decide to move on from him? They do have Jacob Parrish, who they say can play inside or outside, and he plays really tight coverage. He is another man-to-man corner, just like Zyon McCollum could be. You have Benjamin Morrison, who's injured right now. Is he going to be able to come back soon? And when he comes back, is he going to get an opportunity to get reps, first team reps, be out there in live game? I think it's probably going to come down to whether Jamel Dean, his performance obviously, but whether he's healthy or not. You'll see Benjamin Morrison out there. But overall, good contract for Zyon McCollum and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They lock up another key piece of that 2022 draft class. We got to see now what happens with a guy like Cade Otton. Do they let him play the season out, or do they sign him early? Rachaad White, I think that the Buccaneers are just going to let this one ride out. I think Rachaad White, he has a fire underneath him. He's slimmed down a bit. They want to see him, just play out the season. And I think him personally, he wants to go see what other options does he have out there. Is there a spot somewhere in the league where he can come in and compete for that RB1 position? He's the best pass blocking running back on this team. He's great out of the backfield. He can catch passes for you. The problem with him was always he couldn't really run north to south. He was always bouncing around when he gets the ball instead of hitting those holes and just going straight. That was an issue with him. That's why you saw a guy like Bucky Irving, besides his phenomenal play, but a guy like Bucky Irving, when he got the opportunity, he went north and south. He went north, all right? He went straight. He took those holes. He was able to produce. So I think Cade Otton is the most, and also Logan Hall. We got to see how he continues to develop. I think he's going to be one of those players that the Buccaneers wait and they see how he develops this year. But Cade Otton is possibly the next one in line. Do the Buccaneers sign him early, or do they wait for the end of the season before free agency begins to sign him to that big contract extension? We'll see. But let's move on to our next headline. So now let's close out the show by giving you my week 2 picks. I know it's early. We haven't even had the conclusion of the Sunday night football game or the Monday night football game tomorrow. But I want to tell you guys right now, this entire season, I'm going to be competing with Adam Slavon of Pewter Report, my coworker now. So we both went 11-3 last week. We both went 11-3. He had his big 3 losses were the Chiefs. He had the Chiefs over the Chargers. That was that game over in Brazil. I had the Chiefs winning over the Chargers, but Justin Herbert had a monster of a game and was able to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. So that was one of both our losses. We both also had the Miami Dolphins beating the Indianapolis Colts and Daniel Jones as a new QB1, but they got blown out. The Miami Dolphins got blown out by the Colts, and we both lost that game. So that's one of our 2 11-3 games. And then lastly, for Adam Slavon, he had the Carolina Panthers beating the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's the former Buccaneers offensive coordinator bowl between Dave Canales and Liam Cohen. He had the Panthers winning. I had the Jacksonville Jaguars winning. So the Jacksonville Jaguars ended up winning that game. So he got the loss there. I got the win, but he had the Seattle Seahawks losing against the San Francisco 49ers. I had the Seahawks winning. He had them losing. So the 49ers win. So that's one of the games that he was able to swap and beat me from there. But overall, we are tied. We're tied at 11-11. Again, you guys can compete with us throughout the entire year. Compete with us. If you want to drop down your comments below for all the week 2 picks, if you want to do it when we post on X, you can do that as well. But later on this week, I'm going to go through my week 2 picks here. Later on this week, I'm going to post Adam's picks as well. So you'll see that at X. So make sure you go follow me at DanielM_TB. I'll post out his picks later on this week. So let's get to now our week 2 matchups. There's a lot of football. There's still a lot of football remaining with the Sunday night football and the Monday night football game. But you have the Washington Commanders on Thursday night football against the Green Bay Packers. This one's going to be a really, really, really tough game. I'm going to take this is so tough. They're both 1-0. They both won the kickoff. Man. I'm going to take the Commanders. Remember, they eliminated the Buccaneers from the playoffs last year, but I'm going to go with the Packers in this game. I'm going to go with Jordan Love, Micah Parsons, and the Packers over the Washington Commanders. I have them winning that game, so let's go with the Packers. All right, another game. This one's Sunday, September 14th. You have the Browns in Baltimore against the Baltimore Ravens. I think this one's a pretty easy one for the Ravens. I had the Ravens winning this game over the Browns. All right, next, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals normally start off the season pretty slow. They came off week 1 with a victory. I think week 2 against the Jacksonville Jaguars, It'll be another victory for them. So I have the Bengals winning over the Jaguars. All right, next, you got the Giants at the Cowboys. So I know Dak Prescott gets a lot of hate, but he did a pretty good job out there in week number 1. It wasn't his fault that the Cowboys lost. I think that the Cowboys are the better team over the Giants. So I'm going to have the Cowboys over the Giants. All right, now we got the Bears and we got the Lions. So Bears versus Lions, NFC North division rivalry game early on in the season. I'm going to go with the Lions. The Lions are the better team overall. I'm not the biggest fan of Caleb Williams, but I do think that, any of these quarterbacks, I think that the NFL moves on from these quarterbacks a little bit too quickly. I think you should let these guys develop, take their time. We've seen it with guys like Baker Mayfield, who was ran out of Cleveland, Sam Darnold, and his success that he had with the Minnesota Vikings last year. So just these young guys, unless they're extremely horrible, continue to, build a team around them, build the offensive line, get them weapons, get them a defense, build a team around them, and give them some time to develop. But this one, I have the Lions over the Bears. All right, next, we got the Patriots and we got the Dolphins. The Patriots got blown out by the Indianapolis Colts in week number 1. This one's going to be in Miami, and Tom Brady, throughout his career, whenever he went down to Miami, he always struggled against Miami. I'm going to have the Miami Dolphins winning against the New England Patriots here in week number 2. All right, let's keep going. All right, you got the 49ers at the Saints. The Saints aren't going to do too good this year. We know that. They have Spencer Rattler out there as their QB1, but they're also in cap hell. They're not going to win anytime soon here. They're going to be in the basement of the NFC South, in my belief. This one's pretty easy. 49ers over the New Orleans Saints. Let's keep going here. We got the Bills. We got the Jets. The Jets, we're going to see the Jets here in Tampa in week number 3 for the home opener, possibly with Tristan Wirfs back. We'll see the maybe, possibly for that game. But this one's easy for me here also. I have the Bills over the Jets. The Bills are a more complete team. They're going to be one of those teams that are possibly in the AFC Championship game against maybe the Chiefs or the Ravens, or even the Chargers. You saw Justin Herbert light it up in week number 1. All right, we got the Seahawks and we got the Steelers. I think this is going to be one of those fun games. This is going to be a really physical, tough game for both teams. You're going to see the defenses of both of these teams play really good. Their offenses both have potential, also really good potential. Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf on one side. You got Sam Darnold and all their talent on the offense over there with the former Ohio State wide receiver, first-round pick. But I'm going to go with... Let's go with the Seahawks. Let's go with the Seahawks over the Steelers. I think the Seahawks can pull it off. All right, next game. You got the Rams and you got the Titans. The Titans, they had the first overall pick last year. They got Cam Ward with that first overall pick. They have way too many holds on this team, especially to compete against a team like the LA Rams. I have the Rams winning over the Titans. We got the Panthers and we got the Cardinals. I think this is kind of like an even game. I think both these teams are young, promising teams that are kind of at the same level. I think the Cardinals have the edge a little bit over the Panthers, but Panthers coming off that week 1 loss. I think Bryce Young, I think he has talent. I think he has promise. His offensive line needs to hold up for him, and I think he has a chance. This one's a tough one. It's going to be in Arizona. I'm going to go with my gut here and go with the Panthers. I'm going to go with the Panthers over the Cardinals to win that game. All right, next, we got the Denver Broncos and versus the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts, again, blew out the Dolphins in week number 1. I'm going to take the Broncos here, though, and Bo Nix, Sean Payne, and the Broncos over the Indianapolis Colts in week number 2. All right, Eagles versus Chiefs. Super Bowl rematch. Huge game here. This is going to be a really fun game to watch. It's going to be a 4:25 kickoff game on Fox. Man. Super Bowl rematch. The Eagles coming off that week 1 win. The Chiefs coming off of the week 1 loss against the Chargers. I'm going to go with the Eagles again to beat the Chiefs. I'm going to stick with this rematch. I'm going to stick with the Eagles winning both of the rematch and the original Super Bowl that they face each other against. So I'm going to have the Eagles over the Chiefs in week number 2. All right, next. Falcons at Vikings. This is another one, just like the Panthers and the Cardinals. I think they're two evenly matched teams. I think they're about at the same area. I think Michael Penix Jr. has elite upside. He has a lot of potential. I loved having a chance to break down, do a full deep dive into the Atlanta Falcons film in prep for the week number 1 game for the Buccaneers. This is such a promising team. The Vikings are a really good team also. They had 14 wins last year. Whew. Man. We haven't seen JJ McCarthy yet as of this recording because that is a Monday Night Football game. I'm gonna go with the Falcons. I think they have so much talent on both sides of this team. I'm gonna go with the Falcons to beat the Vikings in week number 2. All right, we got Monday Night Football now, doubleheader. I'm going to be doing commentary for this one on the Pewter Game Day show. That's going to be a 7 o'clock game. It's going to be the Buccaneers versus the Houston Texans. They're on the road. It's a primetime game. Normally, the Buccaneers don't do good on primetime, but I think the Buccaneers can come out. This is going to be another very talented team that they're going up against, maybe even more talented than the Atlanta Falcons. You got C.J. Stroud. You got Nico Collins on the offense. You got on the defense. You got Derek Stingley Jr. You got Will Anderson. You got Daniel Hunter. You got a lot of guys out there on both sides of the offense and defense, both sides of this team. I still think that the Buccaneers are more talented than the Houston Texans. I think that the Buccaneers are a Super Bowl contender. I don't think the Houston Texans at this point are a Super Bowl contender. Let's see what they show. But I have the Buccaneers winning over the Texans in week number 2. The Buccaneers start off 2-0. All right, last game you have, this one's a 10 o'clock kickoff. You have the LA Chargers versus the Las Vegas Raiders. John Spytek, Pete Carroll out there, Geno Smith. Justin Herbert showed out in week number 1. I have the Chargers winning over the Raiders. So those are my week 2 picks. I'm going to update also the overall rankings for me and Adam Savon once the Sunday Night Football game ends and the Monday Night Football game as well. And I'll post those week 2 picks for Adam as well and myself. So it's going to be a lot of fun. You guys can compete against us throughout the entire year. It's going to be a lot of fun. I love getting a chance to just do a deep dive into other teams as well and all this here. So those are my week 2 picks. You guys can follow along. You guys can comment below your week 2 picks as well. But let's get to the closure now. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have not done so already, please please subscribe. We just passed 300 subscribers here on Fear the Bay. We're 14 episodes in, so I just love to see the growth that we've continued to have. You start off at 1 subscriber and you see it bounce to 100, then 200, and 300 now. Let's keep going. Let's chase for 500 subscribers and 1K subscribers. That would be awesome. But also, go subscribe to our Pewter Report TV channel. So that's going to be really cool too. We're almost at 21,000 subscribers on that account. Every single game day also, make sure you're locked in. Make sure you're fully tuned in on Pewter Report TV and on X and Instagram and Facebook at Pewter Report also. From 9 o'clock, every game day at 9 o'clock in the morning, Scott Reynolds and Matt Matera will be doing the pregame show, giving you guys all the final minute information you need to know before the game. Even next week, it's a 7 o'clock game, Monday Night Football game against the Houston Texans. They're still going to do it at 9 o'clock in the morning, give you guys all the information you need to know going into the day and waiting for that 7 o'clock kickoff game. And then anytime is game day, turn on Pewter Report TV to watch myself and also Matt Matera. I'm the co-host, but Matt Matera hosts the Pewter Game Day show. It's really, really cool. We're giving you guys commentary. Turn down your TV volume. Listen to guys who know exactly what's going on with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll give you guys commentary, color commentary, insight on what's going on, our reaction. So we had a crazy reaction to the Younghoe Koo miss. If you didn't watch that, go back and watch the very end of the Pewter Game Day show. That was a crazy experience. We were both shocked that he missed that 44-yard field goal. But those are the types of things that you see when you watch the Pewter Game Day show. You're not going to see that reaction from the NFL Fox analyst or anybody else. They're also not going to know as much about this team as Matt Matera and myself. So guys, make sure you like, subscribe. I appreciate all your support. If you've done so already, even if you didn't do so already, you can do it. Please do it. It's quick. It's easy. It's fast. But just thank you guys for watching. Thank you for all your support. You know how much I love seeing your guys' support, especially when I announced that on X and Instagram that I was going to be a part of Pewter Report this season. I'm joining as a new contributor. All the love pouring in from all the Tampa Bay fans, other media guys as well, other Pewter Report, my coworkers now. Really cool to see. So guys, thank you so much. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers found a way to survive week number 1, but now the game continues. They go on to week number 2, another tough matchup against the Houston Texans. I'll talk about that next week. But until now, I'm your host, Dana Morales, signing out. Thank you for watching.